What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Dolphins Daily, your daily dose of Dolphins content. You know who it is. It's me, Chris Kane. And we're here for more Dolphins talk. As you know, that's what we do. And so we're going to start with the man, the myth, the legend, Jason Sanders, who, for the second month in a row, has won Special Teams Player of the Month. Now, this is wild because we just fired a special teams coach, but not because of Sanders, because of kick coverage and a bunch of other special teams mistakes, punting percentage. It just wasn't good. But Jason Sanders has been great this year. And I'll come on the record. Last year, I was out on Jason. I was ready to let him go because he was erratic. I didn't feel safe. This is the best way I can describe it. I live in LA now. And a few years ago, we had a closer, Kenley Jansen. And he was an all-star. Everyone outside of LA was like, oh, you got a good closer. But anytime he came in the game, I was like, he might lose it. Like, if he wasn't up by 4 runs, I'm like, I don't trust it. And if it wasn't like a 35-yard, 30 to 40-yard field goal for Jason, I was like, he's going to hook it. And even though his percentages weren't that bad, I think he's like over 80%, I just didn't feel safe with him kicking. I didn't. Now, some of y'all may love him. It's just me. This year, he's been a dude. I mean, he made his last 15 field goals, 5 from over 50 yards. Crushed it. Like, he was locked in. Honestly, you could say he may have been the most consistent guy all year. He was fantastic. And so he got Player of the Month last month, and he just kept rolling, and then he got it again. So shout out to Jason. We like to give flowers around here. I'm going to go on the record and apologize for wanting you to get cut or, maybe not even get cut. Just maybe have your salary reduced. I just didn't feel safe. And kicking is a thing where when the kicking yips kick in, we've seen some of this with Tucker for Baltimore. You can be the dude. And the minute that kick starts going left, it starts going right, you start seeing kickers slump their shoulders. They start getting mad at the holder, like, yo, turn the laces better. Like, you see it start falling apart. And then, like, they just start overstriding and overkicking. And it can go bad. And for Jason to bounce back from last year and have a great year, hey, shout out to you. All love. He could have made a Pro Bowl. Boswell was great too. So I get it. But I want to get some flowers because I was out. I was out on him. And more news. The Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver has been up for a couple coaching jobs, specifically with New Orleans and with Chicago. I do not believe he will get either job. I don't necessarily believe this is a Rooney Rule situation because I think Chicago's already interviewed multiple people. But I do think he's done a good job with the defense. We mentioned they had a great year. Top 10 in a lot of stats. He's a young guy. He doesn't have coaching experience, which means they can probably lowball him in the contract a little bit. So I get why he's out there. I think the Saints' job is an abomination. Let me just say that. I think it's the single worst job available. They are awful in the cap. They don't like their quarterback. Camaro's getting old. I don't know what Michael Thomas is doing. I don't know what that team is. I can see them being the number 1 pick in the draft next year. I can see them just completely tanking, going under. I don't see a future. They have mismanaged that team horribly. And so taking that job, yes, you're in a dome. I guess that's cool. New Orleans is a great city. But for your first job, do you want to put Derek Carr as like, I'm going to hitch my wagon to this? Nah. Chicago's a fantastic job. I think, fantastic may be high. I think Caleb, weapons, and a solid defense is a pretty good stepping stone. Now you're going into a murderer's row of division, right? Like Detroit, Minnesota, and Green Bay. It's like, woof, that's rough. But you have a 22-year-old quarterback who you think will get a lot better, and so I think there's something there. I don't think he's getting that job, though. I think that job is going to a seasoned coach. I could see like a Pete Carroll type taking a job. I don't think Ben Johnson wants that job, which is odd, because it seems like a job he would be very much in line for. But you'll see an OC from some team take the job. I don't believe it's going to be Anthony Weaver. And honestly, I'm hoping it isn't because he's good where he is. Now, there was this reporting that I just find suspicious. It said even if he's offered a job, he's not guaranteed to take it because he loved coaching Miami so much last year. Listen, you see this on my top of my head? It's a cap. I'm calling cap. And ain't no way, boy. If they say, hey, won't you be our head coach? Nah, I'm real cool being a DC, dog. That's not happening. Because you never know. Head coaching jobs don't just come around every year unless you're like Ben Johnson. Usually you're in a cycle, and if you don't get hired, you just kind of get pushed to the side. So this sounds like it may be like a little posturing, like, hey, I don't have to leave if you know what I'm saying? You feed daddy a little bit, you cut the check, I might stay. That seemed like some negotiating in public. I do not for a second believe if he gets offered a job, he'll be like, nah, I'm good. I just don't believe that. So that's what the reporting said. I don't buy it. I'm not saying anybody's lying. I'm saying that's all I'm saying. That's it. That's it. Now this story is it's our last story of the show. This is interesting. So Tua's dad, I think it's Galu, but I may be butchering that, but I don't speak the language well. Doesn't do a ton of interviews. He's kind of a private dude. He does what he does. But he did an interview with ESPN Honolulu, which I didn't know was even a thing. And they were asking him about Tua specifically, and like how has it been being a dad? How has it been like watching your son's career? And like how do you feel about his injuries and concussions, and how does that affect the family? Because Tua's been very steadfast. Hey, I'm gonna play the game. This is my body. I'm gonna do what I want to do. And he talked about like he had to convince his mom to let him play. I'm guessing she was like, "Hey, you're my baby. I don't want to see you get hurt." He didn't. I'm sure his wife had to be convinced as well. His kids are young, so we're asking the dad, who basically coached Tua from a kid, taught him to throw righty, taught him to throw lefty, even though he's actually a righty in real life. The one that's just been with him the whole journey. And it's like, well, how do you feel about this? Because your son made it to the league, and now injuries are trying to take him away from the league, right? So this is a very long quote. We had to break it into 2 slides, so we'll go for each one. He says, Tua's doing well. He's recovering. As a father, as a parent, it's tough. I think it's tough for any parent to go through something like this. But at the same time, the NFL is different. The way they do things, how they run things, it's a whole different beast, a whole different animal. But at the same time, Tua's now married. He has his own family, and these are some of the tough decisions that he's going to have to deal with in life. He continues. He's going to continue. The game is something that he loves. One of the things I talked to him about when he was going through the concussion, I was like, hey, Tua, what do you think? He was like, Dad, I love this game, and I would die on the field for this game. So that answers everything for me. But as a father, you have to take care of your life. That was crazy. I actually got kind of chills reading that, because I'm sure we all remember the press conferences. People say, Tua, are you going to wear the concussion, like, donut helmet, the extra cushion? And he was like, nah. And people are like, why is he being so cavalier about this? And it's your life and your health. The NFL should stop him from playing. This is a whole can of worms. There will probably come a time when NFL does step in just for the safety of the league kind of thing. But as a Dolphins fan, I'd like to see Tua play. Like, I'm selfish in that regard, because we've seen the other quarterbacks that play for the team, and we've seen where it goes. And also, like, he's a man that's married, that's of right age. He's not 17 trying to decide his future. He's in his mid-20s. He's made some money. And if he wants to play, like, I don't want to be the patrol to tell him not to play. And I'm sure as his parents, his wife, they're like, hey, just keep in mind the people around you. And the idea that I'm going to die on the field, like, that could be, I don't think it's tongue-in-cheek. I do think if it was like, hey, you're having, like, crazy brain bleeds and one more hit and you could die, I think he might, like, probably step away. I'm just projecting. I have no idea. But concussions are weird, because there's like a spectrum of concussions, right? You can have the ones that linger for months, if not like years, right? And some that it's like, oh, I just kind of like ding my head and I can play a week later. I think he's had a mixture of those. The one against Cincinnati was like the most egregious, but the one against Green Bay seemed like it was a more mild one. So I don't know. I'm not a neurologist. I'm not a doctor, but as a father, like, it sounds like he's respecting his son's opinion, while also like making sure that the concern is conveyed, right? I'm concerned for my son, but he's a father now, like I'm a father. And so I can't tell him, hey, you won't play because, one, you're an adult and you can just do what you want. But, you have little Tuas running around, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want you to be there for them. And the goal is that Tua will slide Tua. We don't need to be being a hero out there. If you throw a pick, let him do a pick six. Don't try to throw your head in there and make a tackle. If you run, please get down. We don't care about the first down that bad. But I think it's something he opened the door to, I think, how a lot of us feel, where it's like, hey, man, this is dangerous. But we all know football implicitly is dangerous, but I think we get so caught up in the game that it's easy to be like, I know it's dangerous, but I got money line or I got prize picks, and that can do it. And also just fandom. Like I want to see my team have the best chance to win, and so it's interesting. I think you can do 40 minutes on this, but we don't have 40 minutes. We only have 10. So we'll talk more about this later on because the Tua concussion thing will probably come up as we get closer to the draft, and we'll start talking about will Miami go in a different direction where the quarterback that presumably has a longer future, and we'll talk about that kind of stuff. But as always, thank you guys for tuning in. Again, you guys are blowing this page up right now. Like every time we refresh and we check it, there's more subscribers, there's more views. I don't know what we're doing that's working, but we're going to keep trying to do it. Again, share, subscribe, keep telling your friends. I appreciate what you guys are doing, and we'll see you next time. Peace.